I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Michelle Gladieux.
It seems like the big wins and the big losing propositions come down to, did I communicate to my best ability? Did I take the right risk? In other words, did I engage in a new behavior or a new mindset, try something that was outside my comfort zone with no guarantee of what the result will be, but did I give it a shot if it was meaningful to me? And I know that I sleep better when I take intelligent risks.
Michelle Gladieux is president of Gladieux Consulting, a Midwest-based team known for the design and presentation of seminars in communication and leadership topics around the U.S. She's the author of Communicate with Courage, Taking Risks to Overcome the 4 Hidden Challenges. She facilitates strategic planning and executive coaching for clients in diverse industries, in governments, at nonprofits, and in academia, and has 18 years of collegiate teaching experience at 3 universities in her home state of Indiana. My interview with Michelle Gladieux is coming right up, but first...
Support for this and all the other podcasts on the Marketing Podcast Network is provided by Momento. Yes, you can use AI to make your job as a marketer easier. Momento is built to put the power of AI in your hands. It can write social media captions, have it watch or listen to a podcast and suggest, then automatically create social media posts to promote the show. Heck, it can even listen to a podcast episode, then write a poem about it you can use on your company blog. Go check it out. MPN listeners can try it for free at bit.ly/MomentoMPN. That's bit.ly/MomentoMPN.
As a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful manner. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You'll also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads is also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Michelle Gladieux, welcome to On Brand.
Oh my gosh, Nick, thanks so much for having me. I'm a fan of your work.
You know, I love that you both led your bio and closed your bio with some Midwest love there. And I feel like I have to get it out of the way because you've got an Iowan talking to someone from Indiana. Is that an Indianan?
Well, yes, I went to Purdue University, so I think of myself as a Boilermaker, but I believe statewide we're known as Hoosiers.
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 There you go. So I just feel the need to point out to folks that may be confused that Michelle and I are from 2 separate states. Both start with I, they end with A, and they are oft confused, but they're in fact different places. And there's even more confusing, another I state in between them of Illinois. We won't even get into that, but all these Midwest states have a communication problem of their own, perhaps.
I was just thinking about the heartland and how we are mostly known for hard work, good work ethic and friendly communication, saying hello on the street, etc. More so than when I go work in New York or LA or big cities where the hustle and bustle is more present. So I don't know. Whenever I travel to a big city, I kind of yearn to come back home and see cornfields.
So do you think that I mean this, and I will make a corny reference with an eye to what you just said about corn. Yes, I've got all the dad jokes, all of them.
Okay.
But it's corny, but I'm gonna run with it here and try to make it work. Do you think in your work in
communication, that location, that background, that heartland thing that you mentioned, do you think that plays a role? Relevant, irrelevant?
I think it certainly plays a role, the year we're born and to which people and in which geographical setting all creates part of our personality, which shines through and sometimes doesn't so much shine, right, in our communication. I think it might have more to do with the way I was raised, and my book, Communicate with Courage, as I look back at the 4-year process of writing this short paperback, I noticed that some of the best gems in the book that are most timely and timeless came from talks with my mom, talks with my dad and older brothers too, but really she invested a lot in sharing pearls of wisdom with me that were hard earned in her life. And she did so with sort of a, how do I want to put this? She felt an impetus to do so. She felt a drive to do so and talked to me about a lot of adult things when I was very little. I think she correctly aimed them for a child, but she had me when she was almost 50 years old. So she told me she knew she wouldn't be around as long as some of my friends' moms. So she was talking to me about all kinds of interesting life changes and ways of looking at communication in life when I was very young. So a lot of those strategy sessions made it into the book.
Wow.
As I try to help people, develop their courage and find it in themselves to develop their unique voice, because no one else can do that for us.
That's fascinating. And again, you mentioned the book Communicate with Courage and about overcoming those challenges. But I even think of that. I mean, you had first, A+ for a solid answer to what was admittedly a kind of corny question on communication in the heartland. But that's a really powerful example. And boy, you talk about communication challenges. And I have, my wife and I have 5 kids, and I joke that I've been both the young parent in the cohort and then now on the other end of it, the older parent in the cohort of other parents. And that's kind of an interesting, boy, we talk about all sorts of communication challenges, but that's certainly an interesting one as a parent of, if you don't have as much time to convey your message. It's just fascinating that you have found your way to work in a place that helps others kind of grapple with that, and that's really where some of this wisdom that you've had passed down has been rooted in. So how did you find your way to communication as a domain? Because it's kind of, in academic settings, it's sometimes kind of a strange orphan.
It is, and it should always be
very important, but we don't know where to put it.
Always at the table with strategy. How did I find my way? Well, I think of being 17 and leaving to go to college and knowing I loved psychology and knowing I loved business and was nerdy president of the business club, and whatnot in high school, and talked to a counselor and academic counselor who said, well, have you heard of organizational psychology? We offer industrial organizational psychology here. And my heart just grew 3 sizes. So I knew that I wanted to study that. I was not interested in being a clinical psychologist. Interested, of course, that's wonderful work. Not interested in an MBA necessarily, but have found my place in organizational development. And I saw a picture of your beautiful family. I was looking at your Insta page and your 5 kids and your wife, and what a great example of teaching. I mean, when people choose to be parents, they've signed up for 24/7 teaching.
I never thought of that one. That's going in the act.
I felt a different vocation. I want to teach adults, and I love being in every industry, in government and academia. I just love learning about all these different jobs and then helping people get around the obstacles to their communication. What's holding them back as presenters or business writers or feedback givers or feedback receivers or leaders, supervisors, managers. Nobody's born a good leader. You have to really be willing to look at your strengths and weaknesses and then work on the weaknesses. And as a result, we do a lot of work with personality assessment as we bring in executive coaching clients, and sometimes with a team of 30 or 50 or 10 who want to do some training in communication skills. We'll start with that, know thyself, and we'll look at a valid personality assessment. And that allows people to kind of see what others see when they experience our clients' communication. So all of this with a dollop of, self-love and humor, because we're never going to get communication completely right. Every day you have thousands of decisions to make. Many of them inside and outside of work are about communication. And I've always been a person, when my head hits the pillow, I'm reviewing my day. And it seems like the big wins and the big losing propositions come down to, did I communicate to my best ability? Did I take the right risk? In other words, did I engage in a new behavior or a new mindset, try something that was outside my comfort zone with no guarantee of what the result will be, but did I give it a shot if it was meaningful to me? And I know that I sleep better when I take intelligent risks. So for a long time, I've been needing this book that I wrote in coaching and training examples. I've kind of reached for some of these exercises and pro moves that I sprinkle throughout the book. And I'm very happy to have it now as a handbook that hopefully will appeal to a wide audience, because it's filled with common truths, but also little winks. Like, here's something that took me 10 years to figure out. I really think that's why, or 20 years. I've been doing this for about 25 years. I am really fascinated by the power of one person's potential as a communicator, and I've seen it change teams, organizations, bottom line profits, self-esteem. It's amazing how many lives you can change when you just start to work on small things about your communication.
That is such an important point. And it seems like you also, it reminds me of that old adage of writing the book that you need. And it sounds very much like that's what Communicate with Courage was. Speaking of sayings, there's another one out there that what you just said sort of, I think is, I believe in, and I feel like it kind of flies in the face of that saying that that someone's a born leader. And I think that, I think that communication, as you noted, is foundational to leadership. But I also think kind of communication and leadership kind of share this thing that there's these two worlds, these people that are either just kind of biologically programmed to be great leaders and communicators, and then there's the rest of us just struggling to do our best. And I feel like more people need to know that, like you said, nobody's born a great leader. So once you accept that, what are the steps that you can take to take some steps to become one?
Well, I think that you need to recognize that there are some obstacles that might be in your way that you just don't have your sight on yet. You can't get your eyes or your brain around them. And those are the hidden challenges. And I define those as, sometimes we hide from risk. So we don't want others to see our weaknesses. Thus, we cannot grow. A second hidden challenge I've noticed through coaching thousands of great clients is defining to be right. And many of us are so damn sure that we are correct and that our worldview is the only worldview that we miss opportunities to learn. And rationalizing the negative is the third challenge that many people aren't aware that they have fallen victim to. And that's looking at the negatives in a scenario related to communication and stopping yourself from trying because you have rationalized that he won't care, she won't listen, or they'll never change. The fourth hidden challenge is settling for good enough, and that is simply satisficing. In important communication, you do want to stick your neck out because you can make a difference. And it might not be the most eloquent speech you've ever given. You might not get your words right. You might fumble. Your face might turn red. Your hands might shake, as mine did. when I spoke at a graduation ceremony recently. And so what I did was, that surprised me because I'm on stage a lot, but I put them behind my back, which only made it hard to move my cue cards when I needed to move them. Anyway, so when we are settling for good enough, there's a purpose or a person, maybe even ourselves, that we care about, and we might be able to affect change through our communication, but we don't, because we figure, well, nobody else is making this effort, so why should I? And that's kind of why I brought pro moves into the book. Pro moves are communication strategies that others might see as involving too much trouble or skill to undertake, so they walk on by and they miss a chance to get closer to their communication potential. So throughout the book, we talk about passion for learning and a desire to improve our own life or someone else's life or surroundings. And that's when we find our courage to take some important risks. So to start, if you want to grow as a communicator, it's about getting clear on your strengths and celebrating them, and being brave enough to look at your weaknesses and then starting to take baby steps towards them. As simple as, I'm going to speak in every meeting I attend this week. No more silent observer, even if it's just to say, thanks everybody, I learned a lot from this meeting, or good job on that project, or hey, I have a question. So a lot of our coaching clients are receiving goal plans. Once a month, I'll write 5 to 7 goals after a meeting with the client, and they bless the plan or they ask for edits, and then they go forth, and in 29 days, they do 5 or 6 things that help them grow as a communicator. It's really exciting to see, and the opportunities are all around us. So start small.
On Brand will be right back after this.
Support for this and all the other podcasts on the Marketing Podcast Network is provided by Momento. Upload a video and in just minutes, all the busy work of a production team or PR staff is ready for download. Segments edited, transcripts written, social media captions drafted. Literally minutes, not hours. With Momento, you can upload 30-minute videos and watch the AI recommend 10, 12, even 15 segments to pull out as clips. Use them in Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and even TikToks to promote the full video. The recommendations are fast and driven by AI. You can edit them to your liking, then output the finished promotional clip in just minutes. Go check it out. MPN listeners can try it for free at bit.ly/MomentoMPN. That's bit.ly/MomentoMPN.
As a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful manner. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You'll also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn Ads is also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, back to the show. I love that point too that you mentioned, even with your own vulnerability, because I think we like we've been saying, it's like we make this some exclusive sometimes, and talking about shaking hands, and I had to adapt. And I think that I'm always quick to say I sometimes hate grading this work because I always feel like saying I'm not on a 10-point scale. I'm not a 10 out of 10 on every aspect of my presentation at every moment in every talk I give. So I think that it is all of this work, and I love the structure of pro moves like you were talking about in the book, because I want to talk more about the book, and the layout is really interesting because a lot of times business books end with kind of next steps, but I love that structure of having both a pro move there at the end of for application, and then some of those exercises as well. But in taking a step out, your subtitle mentions the 4 hidden challenges. Can you walk us through what those 4 hidden challenges are, and how the book aims to address them?
Absolutely. I have mentioned them in this interview briefly, but let me say a little bit more about each. Hiding from risk, the fear of exposing our supposed weaknesses. What we can do about that is think about what we lose when we hang back instead of getting in the game as a communicator. Regrets are not fun to live with, and you miss an opportunity to influence the world in a positive way when you decide not to engage as a communicator. So hiding from risk is something we want to avoid. And of course, the book lays out the plan for that. The second challenge, defining to be right, is happening when we're putting too much stock into our own assumptions. So something we can do is notice role model communicators in our lives, in our families, in our workplaces, and get good at listening and watching carefully to understand how they move through the world. And then we can benchmark some of the best communicators we see, especially those that have open minds, that ask open-ended questions, and aren't so quick to judge. Rationalizing the negative is the third hidden challenge. And that's when we shield ourselves from taking chances. I think of the risks as to say the hard thing, or to face conflict, apologize, negotiate, ask somebody for help, say I love you, say I'm upset with you. So to get over rationalizing the negative, we simply pull forth some courage to put faith in positive, possible outcomes. I notice in my coaching career that highly cognitive and highly rational, sometimes risk-averse folks, or folks who've been hurt or burned when they tried to communicate before, they might be the first to fall prey to pessimistic mindsets. So watch yourself talk. You might be telling yourself a positive outcome isn't possible, and that could very well be baloney. That might be your shadow self talking, or something from the past. And then settling for good enough, the fourth hidden challenge. We could strive towards an interaction with more rewarding outcomes if we brought our best efforts and we worked on our communication skills and brought our best selves to the table. But we don't, because it takes a little more effort, a little more time. Our heart is on the line, our ego is on the line. So what we can do about settling for good enough is choose, once a day, choose some place in your communication to give 1% more. And when we do that, we gain much more than we give, in my experience. And I can't tell our listeners what the gifts will be, but I can 100% for sure promise that there will be gifts when we start to look at our settling habit and decide that we're not going to settle all the time. I'm not suggesting that everyone strive constantly to be A++ communicators. I'm saying sometimes decide what's important to you or who's important to you and strive in those situations. So yeah, I think the reason I didn't write this book sooner, I'm always writing workbooks and articles, and I'm a pretty prolific content creator. But the book, I thought, well, it's going to have to feel, the time will have to feel right. And it turns out, it took me 20 plus years of doing the work before I thought I could write a short handbook that people could use to become better communicators. It felt right. The time felt right.
Yeah. No, I love that, and I love those challenges. And you're talking about benchmarking in there too. And I was just on one of the pro moves in chapter 10 that talks about benchmarking people who are living their mission. And I think that there's so much value in that, and also gets back to that point of kind of debunking that myth that there's these people that are just kind of walking around carefree, because those people living the mission, if you are really examining them, there's a lot more that goes into that too. and it is a lot of work. It ends up perhaps looking effortless, but it is very
Oh,
that effort has a lot going on under the surface. That's the thing that's sometimes hard to communicate, but I think that's a great pro move to help you get there.
that's a good point. We put a lot of free professional development and personal development resources on our website for just the world to access at gladioconsulting.com. And hopefully you'll spell that in the show notes because it's a tough French last name. But you'll find coaches corners there under the tab coaches corner. And that's real life humans that write and meet with me in person and ask me questions. And somebody they said, hey, I just saw you give a presentation. You make it look so easy. How do I get there? And I wrote the 2 or 3 paragraphs for each Q&A. So it's nice and short for busy people. But I wrote back and said, wow, thanks for the compliment. But if I'm making it look easy, that is an optical illusion because there is so much to pay attention to when you are delivering a message to other humans, especially when they're seated and staring at you or you're on video and you're the one in the spotlight. There's a lot going on in your mind. But something I try to remember is it's not about me. I'm in service to the message. I'm just the medium through which this hopefully carefully prepared and well-researched message comes through. And that way, if I have 2 different color socks on or a scratchy throat that day, or I had an argument with my significant other, etc., I can get lost. I can lose my nerves and I can lose my anxiety and I can get lost in the delivery of the message. And that is when the flow state starts, right? And time flies. And we're very proud. We do a lot of half-day seminars in topics related to leadership and conflict management and communication. And it's just a joy to read those participant evaluations. Folks who are attending, sometimes mandatorily, will say, I wish this would have been longer. And I don't wish it would have been longer, Nick, because I'm whooped after 3 hours holding people's attention, right? We take breaks and things and we switch up the instructional delivery methods and break it into small groups and come back. And there's a lot of different good stuff we do to keep people engaged. But that's what we want. We want when we are presenting, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, we want people to not know where the time went because they are with us, kind of lost in the message. And we're not nervous about ourselves or our message because we're in service to it.
Well, I love that. And you talk about the people that are forced to attend, enjoying it, wishing it was longer. That is a great, sometimes the best praise you can get. And it's kind of how I feel about our interview here, because I can't believe that we're already at the point where you've made me smile several times, but I get to ask you for the brand that has made you smile recently, Michelle.
Okay. That brand is the university, Purdue University, the only university named to Fast Company's list of brands that matter. And it's happened 2 years in a row now. Fast Company has named 95 organizations whose work gives people compelling reasons to care about them. And of those 95, only 13 made a follow-up appearance on this year's list. And again, Purdue University made the list. So I taught for them for a long time, and they're also my alma mater. So I was there for bachelor's and master's degrees. And I'll always be grateful to the professors and the people that I met there because it certainly launched my career. And I learned enough there that I could pull off being a young professor at age 23. So for me, it's West Lafayette, Indiana, Purdue University, and I'm proud of them for keeping tuition at the 2013 level for the last 10 years as well. There's a lot of great diversity initiatives, so that's a brand that matters to me, and I was thrilled when I saw Fast Company noticed it too.
Well, that is an awesome smile and an awesome reason for a shout out to the university that I call the other black and gold.
The other black and gold. Okay, Iowa.
Here in the Midwest. But no,
it's always a good basketball game, isn't it? Any 2 Big Ten teams, they're going to play their hearts out.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. If I can't root for the Hawks, I root for the Big Ten. Love it. Well, Michelle, you mentioned it once earlier, but I want to make sure that we mention it again. And like you said, challenging French last name, I always have to do the same thing with my challenging Danish last name. But where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. You can find us online at gladieuxconsulting.com, GLADIEUX, like X-ray, consulting.com. We're on Instagram, and we would love a follow. We're on Facebook. You can find my book, Communicate with Courage, Taking Risks to Overcome the 4 Hidden Challenges, everywhere books are sold. And we do create a quarterly e-newsletter. I always bring in some music to that. There's always a music video and just inspiration and free development resources. You can sign up for that. It's called Breakdown, named after a favorite Tom Petty song of mine. And you can sign up for the Breakdown at our website, gladieuxconsulting.com, and hear from me 4 times a year if you'd like.
Awesome. Well, we will link up to all of that in our show notes, where you don't have to worry about the spelling if it's just a link you click on, and you can find all of that as usual at onbrandpodcast.com. Michelle, thanks for being on brand with us.
It was a thrill. If you consider a part 2 with any guests, I hope you call me back.
Awesome. Absolutely.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.